Welcome to the Decoding HVAC podcast, powered by Fujitsu AIRSTAGE, bringing you smart solutions, industry trends, and pro tips to keep you in the know. We've got a special guest, our Energy Solutions Manager, Mr. Mike Psihoules. Mike, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me today, man. I'm looking forward to having a bit of a chat with you guys today.
All right, this will be fun. Mike, let's just jump right in. Tell us about your role as the Energy Solutions Manager and what that means day to day.
My role is I kind of see myself as the liaison into the energy efficiency industry and the utility industry. I spend a decent amount of time talking to utility people about rebate programs and their design and how effective they are. And then I spend time also with the regional energy efficiency organizations like NEA and NEEP. I sit on a number of different working groups with those guys, trying to better understand these programs, how they're perceived by customers, and what can we actually do to accelerate the adoptions of heat pumps in the United States.
Mike, that's powerful. With that said, what are some of the trends that you're seeing out there that you can share with the listeners today?
So historically, we've had the IRA that was out there, and the IRA was a program that was really designed to help accelerate the adoption of heat pumps. And it never really rolled to the extent that we had all hoped to, but currently there are 12 programs, 12 states that have IRA programs. They're California, New York, Maine, Rhode Island, District of Columbia, Georgia, Indiana, Michigan, North Carolina, Wisconsin, Arizona, and New Mexico. That's where these programs are. The IRA programs are fully rolled out, and where those programs exist, and they are an income qualifying piece, but there's up to a total of $14,000 available to income eligible folks. And with that, there's up to $8,000 available for the installation of heat pumps. So those are programs that were there. We expected more from them, but in the 12 states that they're currently operating, they are doing a very effective job, and we're seeing some really good numbers there. And then in addition to that, the IRA, it's stackable with utility program. On a utility program, that's local utilities and state programs that, again, they're stackable incentives, and they range from $500 to up to $5,000. Taking advantage of these programs is really a great way for distributors to kind of distinguish themselves and contractors to distinguish themselves to their end-use customers.
Mike, I want to go back to the utilities and government that you talked about a little bit. So why are they willing to incentivize homeowners and businesses to upgrade their HVAC systems?
It really goes back to the grid, right? So from a utilities perspective, it's always been a more cost-effective measure to create what they termed as negawatts versus megawatts. And essentially, right, the utilities have the obligation to create reliable power. And quite often, supply and demand issues come into effect here. And by creating energy efficiency, you're really extending the life of the grid, and you're putting off the cost of creating new generation.
Let's talk about what resources are available to our contractors out there when they're dealing with us on the ductless technology side.
The first resource that we kind of offer up there, and it's probably the most critical, is our Rebate Finder. That's on our consumer-facing website, and it's really a fantastic tool for a contractor when they're sitting with a homeowner to kind of upsell product into a higher efficiency kind of a product. And it's a simple tool. Again, it's on our consumer-facing site, and you're sitting there doing a close with someone. Simply go to an iPad, your phone, or computer, whatever tools that you tend to use. You go to our website, you click into residential, you scroll down to the rebates and incentives, and it'll find where you're sitting through geodemographics, and by zip code, it will pull up all of the available rebates in that area. So if you're talking to a homeowner and you think you've got something there, but they're talking about a mid-tier product or a lower or an intro product, by using this kinds of energy efficiency tool that's out there, you can upsell to a higher efficient unit and really benefit the homeowner. While with these rebates are in there, you're almost paying for the entry-level model, and you're buying high efficiency, which really is a win-win for everybody.
Let's expand on that a little bit. What should homeowners understand when they're evaluating these new energy-efficient HVAC options beyond just that upfront cost?
It's tough from a homeowner's perspective because you got to lay the money out, but life cycle cost is really what these products are about. You looked at a life cycle cost on a heat pump versus a unitary gas or oil type of product. you're going to have a real benefit on the life cycle cost. And what life cycle cost equals, it's not only the upfront cost, but it's the month-to-month cost. So these systems are extremely energy efficient. So on a month-to-month cost, you're going to be getting back some of that initial investment. And over time, you think about 15, 20-year life of these systems, there's real savings that could be achieved from that homeowner. But it's a tough thing because when you're writing that check day one, you're not thinking about the 15-year life cycle cost recovery that's going to be available to you.
Yeah, very true. From a practical application, standpoint, what advice would you give to our contractors who really want to better educate the end consumer when, to your point, when they're sitting across the kitchen table from them on energy savings and incentives? What advice would you give the contractor?
I try to talk to distributors and contractors about these programs, try to get them to overcome the barriers that they see up front. But there is a true value proposition available to the contractor. Number one, they demonstrate leadership and they can really position their business for growth by showcasing their industry leadership, by conveying the information about these kinds of rebates that are out there, and use the incentives as a sales tool, like I said before, to upsell. Because when you upsell, there's more margin in it for the contractor also, but the real benefit goes to the homeowner because when you think about that life cycle cost, and typically upselling would be to a higher efficiency type of a unit. Additionally, on a value proposition, you get to differentiate your business. By leveraging available funds, you can reduce the customer costs. And that's really right. You're trying to build a relationship with that customer to build trust. And by educating them on not only the incentives, but on that life cycle cost piece of it.
Hey, I think there's a perception out there with these rebate programs that it's just too difficult to go file for these rebates. How difficult is it really, both for the consumer and then the contractor, to educate them on filing for these rebates?
I do think that's a misperception that's out there. And yeah, the first time through, the first two times through, it is difficult because they capture, because it's a utility or the federal government, they want to capture certain information in order to justify the programs themselves. But, the reality is once you get the hang of it, it's not that difficult a thing to do. You need your SEERs, your HSPFs, but those are just regular, specs coming off a unit. I think all contractors are comfortable there. Some of the issues have to do with, the address and which utility zone is that particular address in. And you need to understand the different utility service territories because you can be on one block and it's one utility and 2 blocks over, it's a different utility that's providing the service. So there is some difficulty to it, but the reality is it's something that is very, very achievable. Many contractors that are, truly some of the contractors out there have really made this a primary goal of their systems. And, in some states, if you're not utilizing the rebate programs, you're not going to get much work because, for instance, Massachusetts, the Mass Save program has been around for 30 years and contractors know it, homeowners all know it. There's an expectation that that rebate's going to be available. So a state like Massachusetts, I would say 75, 80% of all contractors are using the programs, where in some states it's probably substantially less than that, but the guys and girls that are using it are really capturing a larger piece of the marketplace because of those incentives.
When we travel the country, we're talking to, the contractors, and we urge them, to your point, Mike, spot on, utilize every resource that's available to you to help close a sale. The last thing you want to do as a contractor going into a homeowner sitting across the kitchen table and a contractor who may have been there before you arrived says, well, hey, I'm filing or I'm educating you on these rebates. And then if that second contractor that comes in behind him or her doesn't offer it, they're out of the game. They're not even in contention with winning that contract. So to your point, participating with what's available in the market and what's available for rebates is huge.
Well, that brings up another question. I mean, Mike, you're out talking to contractors. Matt and I do it all the time. But what's one resource that a contractor should be using now that they might be overlooking?
I would say, you have to spend a little time understanding what's available in your marketplace. If you go to local utility websites, every utility website out there has a rebate tab or a save money kind of a tab. And you click on that tab, and there you can really find what the most current and active programs in that service territory are. Because it is critical to, make sure you're providing accurate information to the homeowner. Not only your credibility, but, you don't want to commit to a rebate that's no longer available in the marketplace. And then that customer gets disappointed because you told them there's going to be $4,000 coming their way and it's not available. The contractors do need to spend some time, and it's not extensive time. Once you find out where this information is, it's very, very accessible to get. So if you're a contractor and you've got a sales guy that's going out and visiting homeowners trying to close deals, that person should be familiar with the utility service territory they're walking into for that end use customer and what programs and what funding might be available that they can bring to the job.
Mike, thanks for doing this with us today. We appreciate the time, the insight. If you listening have any questions or would like more information, please reach out to us at decodinghvacpodcast@gmail.com.